On board the USG Kellyan is Isaac Clarke, an engineer whose close friend, Nicole Brennan, serves as a medical officer on the USG Ishimura. The Kellyan attempts to establish contact, but the Ishimura remains silent. Its lights are out, its systems dormant. The massive planet cracker drifts in orbit like a dead giant. Zach Hammond, the Kellyan's commanding officer, orders a manual docking maneuver, but as the shuttle approaches, the gravity tethers malfunction, throwing the ship off course. Thanks to the quick reflexes of pilots Aidan Chen and Haley Johnston, and Isaac's steady technical guidance, they narrowly avoid a crash and manage to land inside Ishimura's hangar bay. The docking clamps are destroyed, the stabilizer is on fire, and the Singularity core is severely damaged. Injured during the landing, Haley remains aboard the Kellyan, while Hammond, Kendra Daniels, Aidan Chen, and Isaac Clarke disembark to investigate. The ship greets them with darkness and silence. No one from the Ishimura's crew comes to meet them. Isaac begins running a systems diagnostic, but the results are grim. Half of the Ishimura's essential functions are offline: communications, navigation, propulsion, even the tram network. Everything is damaged or destroyed. Suddenly, a siren blares through the corridors. The ship's AI announces a biohazard lockdown. From the vents above, a grotesque humanoid shape bursts out, its body warped and its limbs replaced by razor-sharp bones. A necromorph. It impales Chen in an instant. Kendra keeps her composure long enough to hack the quarantine protocol and force the doors open. The surviving crew members flee, but Isaac is cut off, left alone. In a nearby workshop, he finds a plasma cutter and a message scrawled in blood on the wall: "Cut off their limbs." He doesn't hesitate to test the advice on the next creature he encounters. It works. The monsters barely react to body or head shots, but removing their limbs slows them down and ultimately kills them. Inspecting one of the bodies, Isaac notices the Ishimura uniform. The horrifying truth dawns on him. These things used to be the crew. Isaac manages to restore the tram system and takes it back toward the hangar to repair the Kellyan, while Hammond and Kendra head for the bridge. A few minutes later, Hammond reports in. No survivors found. When Isaac reaches the Kellyan, he tells Haley about the monsters aboard the Ishimura. He begins diagnosing the shuttle's damage, but a swarm of necromorphs attacks, rupturing the engine core. The resulting explosion obliterates the Kellyan, killing Haley instantly. Isaac is thrown clear, surviving by sheer luck. Meanwhile, Kendra fails to override the ship's main computer. It locks down completely. The only way to gain control is to retrieve the captain's access codes. Scans show the body of Captain Benjamin Matthias in the morgue. While searching for him, Hammond and Kendra are ambushed by more necromorphs. Among them, Hammond glimpses a face horribly familiar. It's Chen. Separated in the chaos, they fight to survive while Isaac makes his way to the medical deck to recover the captain's corpse. Nicole Brennan had been Ishimura's chief medical officer, and Isaac hopes to find her in the medical bay. But all he discovers is a holographic recording, Nicole's message, recorded at the height of the outbreak. Her voice trembles as chaos rages behind her. Then the feed cuts to static. In the morgue, Isaac finally locates Captain Matthias's body, but before he can retrieve it, a necromorph infector bursts in. He watches in horror as the creature reanimates corpses before his eyes, transforming them into new necromorphs. Fighting for his life, Isaac destroys the infector, secures the captain's access codes, and transmits them to Zach Hammond. There's still no word from Kendra Daniels. With the codes in hand, Hammond gains access to the ship's central computer, which delivers grim news. The Ishimura is slowly falling out of orbit. To prevent a crash, Isaac heads for the engineering deck. The main route is blocked, forcing him to go outside through the hangar and traverse the ship's outer hull. Out in the void, he discovers a horrifying truth. The necromorphs can survive in zero gravity, unaffected by vacuum or cosmic radiation. While making his way to the engines, Kendra reestablishes contact. She's barricaded herself in the main computer core. Somehow, she's managed to hack the system, giving her access to the ship's internal controls. From now on, she can help guide Isaac through the Ishimura's maze of broken corridors. Isaac restores fuel lines, restarts the centrifuge, and reignites the main engines, pulling the Ishimura safely back into orbit. Kendra, however, begins to suspect Hammond. She accuses him of knowing far more than he admits about the marker found on Aegis 7 and about the outbreak itself. Hammond denies everything, but Kendra isn't convinced. She decides to dig through the ship's logs to uncover the truth. Isaac eventually reaches the captain's quarters, where Hammond has taken refuge. The commander has managed to trap a necromorph inside an escape pod. Isaac watches as Hammond points to the creature's face, mutated beyond recognition, yet unmistakable. It's Chen, the Kellyan's pilot, and in a decision that will almost certainly not haunt anyone later, Hammond ejects the pod into space, containing a reanimated alien monstrosity, confident that it's perfectly safe. After all, what are the chances that someone might find it? Or that it could crash onto a populated world? Or slam into a space station? No chance at all. Completely safe. But new problems arise. The planet-cracking operation on Aegis 7 has created a massive field of debris orbiting the planet. With the debris defense system offline, the fragments are smashing into the Ishimura's hull. Isaac once again ventures into open space to recalibrate the system before the ship is torn apart. Along the way, he discovers a security recording of the fateful struggle on the bridge, the moment Dr. Kine accidentally killed Captain Matthias. Once the defense grid is operational again, Kendra contacts Isaac and relays a new message she just received from Nicole. In the recording, Nicole pleads for all survivors to gather in the medical bay. Isaac immediately sets out to find her. When he arrives, he traces the transmission to its source, only to learn the horrifying truth. The message was a trap. There is no Nicole. The signal was a lure, drawing desperate survivors into the medical bay, where someone has been conducting twisted experiments on them. As Isaac shuts down the broadcast, he suddenly catches a glimpse of Nicole, an apparition, or perhaps a hallucination. Before he can react, someone enters the room. It's Dr. Chalice Mercer, Nicole's former colleague in the medical department. Without warning, Mercer hits Isaac with a stasis charge, freezing him in place. While Isaac stands helpless, Mercer delivers a sermon of Unitologist madness, proclaiming that the time of convergence is near, and perhaps Isaac's death will help bring it about. Then Mercer leaves, and the stasis field dissipates. A loud crash echoes behind Isaac as a massive containment tank bursts open. From it emerges a red necromorph, larger and more grotesque than any before, the Hunter. The doors seal shut. Isaac fights desperately, slicing off its limbs, but the creature regenerates them within seconds. All he can do is stall until Kendra overrides the lockdown. He narrowly escapes. Later, he learns the creature's origin. It was created by Dr. Mercer himself. The scientist had injected necromorph tissue into a living test subject, Brant Harris, a miner from Aegis 7. When Harris finally died, his corpse was reborn as the undying monstrosity now hunting Isaac, the first and only hunter necromorph. Kendra Daniels reports that the entire medical deck has gone into lockdown and she can't override it remotely. The only way to lift the quarantine is to manually reboot the security system in the medbay. Isaac heads there, with the relentless hunter necromorph stalking him through every corridor. Despite the constant pursuit, he manages to restart the system and lift the lockdown. Nearby, he finds one of the few surviving crew members, mortally wounded. With his last breath, the man warns Isaac of another disaster. Something in the hydroponics deck is poisoning the ship's air supply. If it isn't stopped soon, there'll be nothing left to breathe. He mentions a possible solution involving a special enzyme and liquid nitrogen. Kendra runs a scan of the life support decks and confirms his story. Isaac assumes the cryogenic storage chambers might contain the nitrogen he needs. In the cryogenics lab, Isaac once again encounters Dr. Chalice Mercer, who continues to preach his gospel of convergence. Mercer speaks of bringing Ishimura's new inhabitants to Earth, to make all of humanity one with the divine. Then, as before, he releases his creation, the Hunter, and locks Isaac inside the chamber before disappearing. Killing the creature is impossible, but the cryogenic equipment gives Isaac an idea. Luring the Hunter into a containment chamber, he triggers the freeze cycle, encasing the regenerating monster in solid ice. With the creature immobilized, Isaac seizes a canister of liquid nitrogen and sets out for hydroponics. At the entrance to the food and oxygen production deck, he receives a looped distress message from a biologist named Elizabeth Cross. To anyone still alive, turn back now. All personnel and plant life are dead. Something has infested the food storage bay. It's poisoning the air. Do not come here. Ignoring the warning, Isaac enters the lab and discovers a synthesis station where Cross had been working on an enzyme meant to counteract the infection spreading through hydroponics. The formula is nearly complete, only the liquid nitrogen is missing. Isaac adds the final component and begins production. Moments later, Elizabeth contacts him directly. She tells him about the source of the contamination, a colossal organism she calls the Leviathan. She explains that she designed the enzyme to kill it, but the team she sent to retrieve the final ingredient, the liquid nitrogen, never returned. Isaac gives her hope by confirming he's already finished synthesizing the compound. Elizabeth outlines her plan. Many of her colleagues have already mutated into necromorphs, and the Leviathan is using them to spread the poison, each of them connected to it like biological conduits. If Isaac can inject the enzyme into these linked necromorphs, the compound will travel through their connection back to the Leviathan itself, weakening it enough to destroy. While searching for these grotesque creatures, Isaac and Elizabeth stay in contact. Their brief conversations reveal shared grief, Elizabeth searching for her missing husband, Jacob Temple, and Isaac still desperate to find Nicole Brennan. Their losses bind them in ways neither yet understands, a bond the marker will later exploit. Once Isaac administers the enzyme to the infected necromorphs, the Leviathan weakens. Now all that remains is to vent the creature into space. He initiates decompression in the food storage bay, but even weakened, the Leviathan resists, clinging to the structure with its massive tendrils. There's no time to synthesize more enzyme, so Isaac does it the old-fashioned way. With brute force and sheer determination, drifting into zero gravity, he faces the monstrous bulk of the Leviathan head-on. A titanic battle unfolds amid the wreckage, but in the end, Isaac prevails, blasting the 10-kiloton mass of rotting flesh into the void. Elizabeth reports that the ship's air quality is rapidly improving. Before signing off, she tells Isaac that her husband, Jacob Temple, had been trying to construct a distress beacon on the mining deck. The beacon was nearly complete the last time she heard from him. Isaac sets off to find it, and with it perhaps a way to call for help. Hammond, who had been radio silent for some time, suddenly answers. He's on the living decks and is witnessing the madness of unitologists who, smiling, drill holes in each other's heads. A grotesque ritual designed to make infection easier for the infectors, to give them unhindered access to the brain. On the mining deck, Isaac finds an unsent video from Jacob, in which Jacob explains he went to help one of the surviving medics. The truth is bleak. That medic was Dr. Chalice Mercer, the fanatic unitologist who built his horrific clinic and engineered the hunter necromorph. Elizabeth's hopes are dealt another cruel blow. Hammond appears again on the line and transmits footage showing unitologists performing some ritual on the marker. The image triggers brief, violent episodes of disorientation in Isaac, Kendra, and Hammond. While searching for the beacon, Isaac discovers Nicole alive on one of the mining platforms. They can't reach each other at once. Nicole keeps repeating the unitologist mantra, "Make us whole." But Nicole, who had been helping people leave unitology, is unlikely to have genuinely embraced the cult. In that moment, it doesn't matter to Isaac. He's found her. Nicole helps locate the beacon and open the path to it, while Isaac holds off waves of necromorphs. Isaac mounts the distress beacon on an asteroid that is held by the Ishimura's gravity tethers, then ejects the rock into space, hoping someone will pass within range and receive the distress signal. On video, Kendra reports she's having hallucinations. She sees her dead brother on the cameras, waving at her. Shortly after, she brings good news. The beacon's signal has been picked up by a military vessel, the Valor, which is already en route. The problem is that Ishimura's long-range communications are offline. It would be wise to contact the Valor before it arrives to warn them of the danger, so the ship's best engineer sets off to repair the comms. He succeeds. Ishimura receives a looped message from the Valor. They got the beacon and are coming to help. They also report recovering an escape pod. The same pod Zach Hammond had launched containing the reanimated necromorph of Chen. Who could have predicted such a thing? When Kendra learns this, she immediately tries to warn the Valor not to open the pod, but Ishimura's long-range transmitter is blocked by something attached to the ship's exterior. That something turns out to be the weakened Leviathan. After Isaac hurled the creature out of the food storage bay, it latched onto Ishimura's outer hull near the communications arrays. Isaac opens fire with the debris defense turrets and finally severs the Leviathan's grip. The monster breaks away from the hull, dead at last. Isaac brings the long-range transmitter back online, and Kendra warns the Valor not to open the escape pod under any circumstances. The Valor replies with a short, horrifying clip, a necromorph tearing a soldier apart. The Valor suffered the same fate as the Ishimura. Worse still, the military ship, now uncontrollably on course, slams into the Ishimura's hull. There is a silver lining. Hammond finds a nearly functional shuttle on the living decks. It's missing a component, the Singularity engine core. But that core is aboard the Valor. Isaac and Hammond make the transfer to the military ship to retrieve it. Hammond reaches the engine compartment first, but the safety system locks the bay when it detects a biological hazard. Inside the sealed compartment awaits Necromorph Chen, which attacks Hammond. On his last breath, the commander flings himself into the engine's energy field. The core vaporizes him and the Necromorph both. The compartment opens and Isaac salvages the power source. Because the Valor suffered catastrophic damage and is losing power, a cascade of system failures begins and the ship is about to explode. Isaac manages to eject through an airlock a moment before the detonation and returns to the Ishimura, with the Singularity core in hand. Now they can finally install the power source in the shuttle on the living decks and escape the cursed ship. In the crew quarters, Isaac comes face to face with the source of all this horror, the marker itself. Nearby, Jacob Temple, still alive, is desperately trying to stop Dr. Chalice Mercer, but Mercer freezes him in stasis before he can act. The Mad Doctor turns to Isaac, preaching once more about convergence, whatever it truly means, and insists that it must happen, that the marker's divine plan must be fulfilled to unite all humankind, living and dead, as one. Mercer kills Jacob Temple and releases his old pet, the hunter Necromorph. One final time, Isaac flees through the corridors, but as he nears the marker, he begins to hear voices, whispers of the dead, clawing their way into his mind. In one of the control rooms, he finally encounters Dr. Terence Kyne, who pleads with him to change plans regarding the shuttle. Leaving the system with the marker, Kyne says, would lead to disaster on a cosmic scale. He shows Isaac a recording from the surface of Aegis 7. When the marker was removed, something enormous stirred beneath the planet's crust, something Mercer had called the Hive Mind, a vast organism that controls all necromorphs. Kyne explains that his late wife, Amelia, had told him that returning the marker to Aegis 7 would put the hive mind back to sleep. The only way to do this is to load the marker onto the shuttle and fly it back to the planet's surface. The problem, of course, is that Amelia has been dead for years, and only recently delivered this message. Maybe it's her, maybe it's the marker, whispering through her image to manipulate them both. But Isaac doesn't question it. He agrees to help Kyne return the artifact to Aegis 7. Isaac installs the Singularity core into the shuttle's engine and powers it up, using its thrusters to incinerate the immortal hunter once and for all. When he begins loading the marker into the cargo hold, Mercer reappears, muttering prayers to the relic. Suddenly, a massive tentacle bursts from beneath the platform, seizing both Mercer and the marker, dragging them into the depths below. A second tendril lashes out and grabs Isaac, but he manages to cut himself free. Kendra tracks the marker's signal. It's been pulled into the cargo bay. Isaac orders Kyne to prepare the shuttle while Kendra tries to contact Nicole and explain their plan. Soon, the marker is secured aboard the shuttle, but before Isaac can join them, Kendra shoots Dr. Kyne in the back and commandeers the ship, leaving both Isaac and Nicole stranded on the Ishimura. She contacts Isaac one last time to explain herself. Kendra Daniels is not a systems engineer. She's an agent of EarthGov, sent to clean up a 200-year-old disaster. Aegis 7, she reveals, was part of an ancient government experiment. The marker found there isn't divine or alien. It's man-made, a red marker, a replica of the original black marker, the first one ever discovered on Earth in the Yucatan crater. That black marker was indeed extraterrestrial. When its discovery became public through one of the scientists who found it, a man named Altman, it sparked the creation of a new faith, Unitology, which went on to dominate humanity's belief systems. Earth scientists had replicated the marker's design, creating the red marker, but testing it on Earth was too dangerous. It was sent instead to a lifeless backwater world, Aegis 7. The experiment ended in catastrophe. The site was quarantined, declared forbidden and forgotten for 2 centuries, until the Concordance Extraction Corporation broke the quarantine to mine the planet. Kendra regrets abandoning Isaac, but insists her mission takes priority. Failure could doom humanity itself. At that moment, Nicole contacts Isaac, urging him to come to flight control immediately. She claims they can still fix everything by taking remote control of the shuttle and bringing it back to the Ishimura. Then she repeats the familiar Unitologist creed, "Make us whole." Isaac does as she asks, guiding the shuttle and the marker back aboard the Ishimura. Kendra escapes in an emergency pod as the ship's systems groan under the strain. Isaac fights his way to the hangar, where he and Nicole board the shuttle and finally leave the Ishimura behind, descending to the surface of Aegis 7, back to the site of the doomed mining colony, where it all began. During descent, Isaac's mind flickers in and out. Minutes of the flight vanish from memory, and Nicole's behavior, it feels wrong somehow, unnatural. According to her, all that remains is to place the marker back on its pedestal where it originally stood, and again she whispers the mantra, "We will be made whole." To finally end the nightmare, Isaac Clarke decides to disable the gravity tethers, intending to bring down the massive fragment of Aegis 7 that the Ishimura had torn from the planet's crust, to crush both the marker and the hive mind beneath it. As the marker moves slowly along its transport rail toward the pedestal, Kendra Daniels appears. She aims her pistol at Nicole's head and tells Isaac that he's lost his mind, that the marker has completely corrupted him, and since he can't see his own madness, she'll show him the truth herself. Kendra plays a video message, one Isaac has seen before but refused to remember. In it, Nicole Brennan speaks softly, her voice weary and broken. She says goodbye, tells Isaac she loves him, and injects herself with a lethal dose of sedative. The screen fades to black. At that moment, reality snaps into focus. The woman standing beside Kendra, the one Isaac thought was Nicole, changes before his eyes. It isn't Nicole at all. It's Elizabeth Cross, the biologist who had helped him weaken the Leviathan. She lost her beloved Jacob Temple on the Ishimura. Isaac lost Nicole. The marker had exploited their grief, clouding their minds, making Elizabeth believe Isaac was Jacob, and Isaac believe Elizabeth was Nicole. Kendra tries to take the platform controls from Elizabeth peacefully, but the woman, crushed by despair and robbed of purpose, provokes Kendra into killing her. A gunshot echoes through the hangar. Elizabeth falls dead. Above them, the colossal shard of the planet begins to fall toward the surface of Aegis 7, ready to bury every trace of the government's sins. Kendra's mission is almost complete. All she has to do now is board the shuttle and leave. Isaac catches up to her on the landing platform, where debris from the collapsing planetary fragment rains down around them. Kendra nearly makes it to the shuttle, but then, from beneath the ground, a massive tentacle bursts forth. It swats her aside like an insect, slamming her into the platform with such force that she's reduced to a crimson smear. And then Isaac sees what it belongs to. From the crater rises an enormous, worm-like abomination, the hive mind itself. It unfurls its massive tendrils, spewing toxins and bile, summoning waves of necromorphs under its control. The battle that follows is pure insanity, a fight against something that simply cannot die, but no one has told Isaac that. He fights anyway. With his plasma cutter, he tears into the hive mind, slicing through its limbs and rupturing its grotesque sacs until the beast collapses into the crater, dead at last. Isaac sprints for the shuttle as the marker and the falling landmass collide, the impact obliterating everything on the surface. He launches the shuttle just in time, escaping the planet's atmosphere moments before the massive fragment crashes down, consuming Aegis 7 in a cataclysmic explosion. In the silence of space, as the battered engineer sits alone in the cockpit, Isaac glances to his side and sees Nicole's corpse, pale and smiling, staring back at him. 3 years after the horrors aboard the Ishimura and on Aegis 7, Isaac Clarke awakens in a padded room in the psychiatric ward of Titan Station, a sprawling metropolis carved into the remains of Saturn's largest shattered moon. He is being interrogated by Edgar Foster, an agent of the EarthGov Colonial Alliance, who wants a detailed account of what happened during the Ishimura incident. But Isaac can't give him anything coherent. The marker's influence has shattered his mind. He's haunted by hallucinations of the Ishimura's blood-soaked corridors, the marker's alien geometry, and the corpse of Nicole Brennan, whispering the Unitologist mantra, "Make us whole." One day, Isaac wakes in a straitjacket, with a stranger, Franco, standing over him. Over his comms, Franco triumphantly tells a woman named Dinah that he's found Isaac Clarke. As he begins to free Isaac's arms, he warns that they're in grave danger. Then, without warning, an infector attacks. Dana's panicked voice screams through the radio, ordering Isaac to run. The hospital erupts in chaos as necromorphs flood the corridors, and the unarmed patient must dodge slashing blades and barbed tentacles just to survive. It isn't only necromorphs who want Isaac dead. Security forces also open fire on him. According to the orders of Director Hans Tiedemann, the man in charge of Titan Station, all patients are to be terminated and the facility dismantled. In one office, Isaac finds a recording of another patient's interrogation, Nolan Strauss. The man mutters about voices whispering to him, showing him symbols. "It was black, with a red glow," he says before dissolving into incoherent screams. In the next room, Isaac is attacked by a deranged Foster, who, in a fleeting moment of lucidity, slices open the sleeves of Isaac's straitjacket with a scalpel and hands him a med pack. He apologizes for what the scientist did to him, then slits his own throat. Dana contacts Isaac directly. She explains that he's suffering from a rare form of dementia caused by exposure to the marker on Aegis 7. The condition will eventually kill him, but she claims to have a cure and promises to take him somewhere safe. Isaac must escape the hospital and reach the Cassini Towers, where she's waiting. In an operating theater, Isaac cobbles together a makeshift plasma cutter from surgical tools, an improvised weapon that seals the fate of every necromorph on Titan Station. But Nicole's phantom keeps appearing, violent and accusatory, lunging at him whenever he least expects it. Realizing he can't survive long in a patient's garb, Isaac locates and dons a full engineering suit, the armor of his trade and his second skin. He soon hears from another escaped patient, Nolan Strauss again, rambling through the static, trying to form a coherent thought but slurring under the effects of heavy medication. Isaac can't understand how the outbreak started. He destroyed the marker on Aegis 7. Dinah explains grimly, "Tiedemann built another marker here, on Titan Station." Nicole's apparition continues to torment him, clouding his mind and twisting his memories. Isaac boards a wrecked transport tram bound for the Cassini Towers, but necromorphs derail it mid-route, sending the car crashing into the depths of the station. He survives the fall, though Dinah's new route to the towers is longer and far deadlier. The outbreak on Titan dwarfs anything that happened on the Ishimura. The planet cracker had been vast, but it was only a ship. Titan Station is a city, home to tens of thousands, and among the victims are children. Their twisted, shrieking forms now scuttle through the ruins. Strauss contacts Isaac again. The medication is wearing off, and fragments of his memory are returning. He mutters about symbols, his head splitting with pain, and he keeps seeing a face he can't forget. Dana warns Isaac not to trust him. Strauss is a psychopath who murdered his wife and child. Isaac's path to the towers takes him through maintenance tunnels beneath a Unitology church. The visions of Nicole grow more frequent, more aggressive. Outside the church, station security hunts him from gunboats, scouring every level. Dinah insists the church is safe and changes the rendezvous point to its upper sanctum. Isaac hates the idea. Unitologists were behind the disasters on Aegis 7 and the Ishimura, but he has little choice. Nicole's visions become increasingly malevolent. In one, she lunges at him with a syringe, nearly driving it into his eye, only for Isaac to realize a moment later that he was the one holding the needle to his own face. The hallucinations are beginning to control him. At the top of the church, Isaac Clarke finally confronts Dana and realizes the awful truth. She's a Unitologist. He can't understand why no one will leave him alone. The station's security forces are trying to kill him, while the Unitologists are trying to capture him alive. Dinah calmly explains everything. Director Hans Tiedemann works for EarthGov. After Isaac escaped Aegis 7, the government found him and secretly transferred him to Titan Station, placing him in a classified psychiatric program. Scientists there literally mined his mind for data about the marker. The marker, she says, doesn't just transmit madness and violence. It also emits a blueprint signal, one that drives certain people to recreate it. By extracting that pattern from Isaac's brain, EarthGov's researchers managed to build a new marker on Titan Station. When the outbreak began, the government decided to erase all evidence, wiping out the station's population and eliminating Isaac before he could destroy their creation. The Unitologists, on the other hand, need him alive. They want to do what EarthGov already did: extract the marker's design from his mind and construct another one, to begin the grand convergence on a galactic scale. There is no cure for Isaac, no rescue. Dana lied. She orders her followers to put Isaac in stasis, but before they can act, a security gunship swoops in and opens fire without warning. The Unitologists are cut down in a hail of bullets, and in the chaos, Isaac escapes through a maintenance tunnel. His attempt to get clear of the gunship fails. He's pinned between security troops on one side and a massive necromorph brute on the other. The creature smashes him through a window, and suddenly Isaac finds himself outside, in the vacuum. Against all odds, he fights back, blasting the gunship apart and taking down the monstrous necromorph in a feat that would make John McClane proud. He has no plan, but then Nolan Stross contacts him again. Stross insists that since they helped build the marker, they can also destroy it. The artifact is located in the government sector. To accomplish this, he says, Isaac must follow a specific sequence of steps, and the first is to enter the dark machine. On the way to the transport terminal, Isaac spots someone fighting off necromorphs with a plasma cutter. It's a young woman, Ellie Langford. He offers to team up, but she refuses, taking an elevator to safety after remotely opening a locked gate for him. The route to the terminal leads through a daycare center, where Isaac witnesses the full horror of the infection: tiny corpses and small, twisted forms skittering in the dark. Even the children weren't spared. Soon after, Ellie radios Isaac. She's found Stross, alive but barely coherent. Isaac urges her not to harm him and asks her to escort the unstable man to the terminal. The three finally meet at the transport hub, and Isaac learns that Ellie, like him, works for the Concordance Extraction Corporation, CEC. Their conversation is cut short when the power dies. A new voice breaks through the static. Director Tiedemann. He coldly admits that he ordered the station's power grid, life support, and transportation systems shut down, even though survivors may still be inside. He cannot allow Isaac or Stross to live. Necromorphs swarm the terminal, forcing Isaac and Ellie to fight back. After the assault, Isaac explains why the director wants them dead. Ellie, realizing the truth, agrees to help him restore power and destroy the marker. To do that, they'll need to reactivate the solar array that powers the station. While Isaac climbs the towering solar spire to repair the panels, Stross deteriorates further. His hallucinations intensify, and his behavior grows violent. Isaac restores the array, but before he can return, a massive necromorph horde ambushes Ellie and Stross. Isaac dives from the spire in a desperate orbital drop, plunging through fields of floating debris to reach them. At the terminal, Isaac reunites with Ellie Langford and Nolan Stross, but before they can plan their next move, an explosion rips through the platform. A violent decompression tears open the hall, sucking bodies and debris into the void. Necromorphs pour into the station, forcing the unarmored Ellie and Nolan to run for their lives. While Ellie works frantically to open the lower-level doors, Isaac holds his ground, cutting down wave after wave of creatures. Eventually, Ellie overrides the locks, and Isaac slips through the gate just as another swarm floods the chamber. The only working transport terminal that can take them to the government sector is located inside a factory, and that place, as Ellie warns, is crawling with monsters. At the factory, the three finally regroup. To reach the government sector, they need to activate a cargo transport, move it onto the main rail line, and ride it across the station. But Stross's condition is rapidly deteriorating. He mutters nonsense about 4 steps: the dark machine, needles, and visions, his eyes glazed with madness. While Isaac works to reroute the transport systems, the hallucination of Nicole Brennan grows stronger, her voice whispering in his ear, her face appearing in every shadow. When the train finally moves, Isaac looks out the window, and his heart stops. Floating outside the terminal, docked like a ghost, is the USG Ishimura. The government had towed it from Aegis 7 to Titan Station for study. As they descend toward it, something massive blocks the rail line, a huge tentacle thrashing through the tunnels. Isaac detonates nearby fuel canisters, blowing the creature apart. The explosion clears the tracks but nearly kills all 3 of them. They outrun the raging inferno by seconds. Moments later, Director Tiedemann comes over the comms, furious. He orders his forces to detonate the tracks, cutting off any access to the government sector. Their only route forward is gone. But Isaac has a plan, an insane, brilliant plan. He'll return to the Ishimura, reactivate its gravity tethers, and use them to drag the entire government sector closer to them. If a planet cracker can tear a chunk out of a world, moving a piece of a space station should be child's play. Isaac boards the Ishimura, walking once more through the corridors where his nightmare began. The walls are still dark with dried blood. The ghosts of the dead seem to linger in the air. Nicole's presence grows heavier, whispering that this is where she died, where he left her to die. On the bridge, Isaac powers up the gravity tethers and locks them onto the government sector. Tiedemann's enraged voice crackles through the radio, but Isaac doesn't care. His work is done. To shorten the distance back to the station, he climbs into an escape pod and launches himself toward Titan's surface. The pod slams violently into the station's hull after a computer error, leaving him dazed but alive. As he staggers to his feet, he sees Nolan Strauss, completely unhinged, attack Ellie, driving a screwdriver straight into her eye. Later, Isaac spots Strauss behind a sealed grate, brandishing the bloodied tool with Ellie's eye still skewered on it. But somehow, Ellie survives. She ambushes Strauss, smashing him with a candelabrum. The blast shutters drop, blocking Isaac's view before he can see how it ends. Sometime after, Ellie contacts him over comms. She's alive but shaken. Strauss escaped into the mining shafts, she says, but she's found something Isaac needs to see and transmits her coordinates. Not long after, Strauss ambushes Isaac again, screaming incoherently, trying to drive the screwdriver into Isaac's other eye. The engineer overpowers him and kills the deranged man once and for all. Moments later, the vision of Nicole appears once more, fierce, demanding. She asks Isaac what she truly is to him. He finally answers, "You're everything." The apparition softens. For the first time, her voice is calm, almost kind. She tells him he's reached the final stage, acceptance, and now he's ready to finish what they started. Isaac descends into the mining tunnels where Ellie is waiting. She's found a massive drilling machine, their only way through the dense rock and swarms of necromorphs separating them from the government sector. There, in the depths of the government sector, Ellie finds a shuttle, one with room for two. But Isaac seals the airlock from the outside before she can stop him. He launches the ship remotely, sending Ellie to safety. He couldn't save Nicole, but this time, he's saved someone. Once again, Nicole appears to him, serene, calm, almost loving, and once again, she whispers that damned phrase, "Make us whole." Isaac ignores her. He understands now. It isn't Nicole. It's the marker, trying to break him. Fear didn't work. Rage didn't work. Now it tries to exploit his grief. But Isaac Clarke has seen too much, and come too far to surrender to sorrow and madness. Then Tiedemann calls. His voice shakes with fury and desperation. He warns Isaac that 200 armed soldiers stand between him and the marker. They won't let him through. The soldiers confront Isaac, shouting for him to surrender. He refuses, vanishing into the shadows of the facility. Moments later, he opens the main blast doors, unleashing a flood of necromorphs that tear through the guards like paper. The navigation systems are dead, and Isaac has no idea where to go. But Nicole reappears, her ghostly hand pointing the way, guiding him along the fastest route to the marker. In the research labs, Isaac discovers a series of scientists' logs. One entry explains that the marker's radiation cannot be contained. It seeps through any barrier. Even the dementia suppressors installed in the lab failed to block it. Another log notes that the signal is always the same, but people perceive it differently. The intelligent ones see symbols, schematics, and blueprints, compelled to recreate more markers. The others just hear a maddening noise and grow violent. Personally, I've never seen any schematics. Guess that's why I became a YouTuber. Isaac pushes deeper into the complex, until finally, he sees it. The marker, reconstructed from the data torn from his mind. It towers above him, hundreds of times larger than the one he saw aboard the Ishimura. Around it, hordes of necromorphs gather, praying. Nicole's apparition tells him that the process has begun. The Unitologists call it convergence. Tiedemann confirms it over the comms. Every necromorph on the station has returned to the source of the infection. The marker ignites, and the ritual begins. Nicole whispers again, "Make us whole." Nearby, Isaac spots the machine the scientist used to extract the marker's code from his brain. The data inside his mind, the same knowledge that allowed them to build this marker, is somehow a threat to it. To learn why, Isaac straps himself into the device and repeats the procedure the researchers forced on him again and again. The needle drives through his eye, piercing into the exact region of his brain where the marker's designs are stored. Agonizing seconds pass, and then light floods his vision. When it clears, Nicole stands before him once more, glowing with radiant energy. She tells him to follow the light. She'll be waiting. At the base of the colossal marker, Isaac finds Tiedemann, broken, bloodied, and desperate. The director opens fire with a rivet gun, but Isaac fights back, disarms him, and drives a blade through his skull. Behind the dying man stands Nicole. She thanks Isaac for coming and tells him it's time to die. In that instant, it all clicks. Every word Nicole's vision ever spoke had one purpose: to lead him here, to make him kill himself. The marker has done this to countless others, each haunted by their own lost loved ones. Every survivor was drawn to the marker, compelled to die, their corpses swelling the growing mass around it. When enough flesh had gathered, convergence would begin. But Isaac resists. Even in the marker's direct presence, he refuses its will. He fights for his mind, for his soul, and burns the marker's influence out of his thoughts. When he comes to, the marker is gone. The necromorphs are gone, and alarms blare through the crumbling facility. Reactor failure, system collapse, station destruction imminent. Titan Station is dying, and Isaac with it. Then, through the static, comes Ellie's voice. She's alive, and she's coming for him. He tells her not to, but she ignores him. Moments later, a massive explosion rocks the chamber. Through the smoke, a gunship bursts in from above, its spotlight cutting through the darkness. Ellie pulls Isaac aboard, and together they escape the collapsing station as Titan tears itself apart behind them. The marker is destroyed. Titan Station is gone. The outbreak on Saturn's shattered moon is over. Isaac Clarke now lives on the lunar colony New Horizons, trying to bury the memories of the Ishimura, Aegis 7, and Titan Station. For a time, he and Ellie Langford stayed together, bound by shared trauma, but eventually she left. And Isaac was once again alone, haunted by visions that refused to die. One day, his apartment door bursts open. 2 armored soldiers storm in, weapons raised. They claim that Ellie led them to him, and that immediately after she went missing. From the tense exchange, Isaac realizes these men know about the markers, and understand at least part of his connection to them. Explosions echo through the colony. Over the radio, a voice reports that Unitologists have broken through and are already inside the main lobby of the building. The soldiers promise to help find Ellie if Isaac helps them in return. With no other choice, he agrees. The men introduce themselves as members of the last surviving EarthGov battalion, Captain Robert Norton and Sergeant John Carver. Outside, they're met by Unitologist shock troops, zealots who charge without fear, convinced that death will grant them convergence. Norton explains that the Unitologists are hunting Isaac because the end of humanity is near. The prophesied convergence is about to begin. Having already destroyed 2 markers, Isaac Clarke is their top priority, the only man capable of stopping it. To survive, he needs to reach the rooftop of the Iskacorp building, where an extraction team is waiting. As Isaac fights his way through streets littered with corpses, the colony's terminals broadcast the voice of Jacob Arthur Danick, a high-ranking Unitologist preacher. His sermons echo through the chaos. The age of humanity is over. There are too many of us, and too few reasons to live. But there is a future. Our prophet Michael Altman showed us the way. The black marker has a plan for every soul. It will raise us from our wretched existence and unite us, body and spirit, into one divine being. Isaac finally reaches the evacuation point, but waiting there are Danick and his followers. The cultists execute the EarthGov soldiers who came to rescue Isaac. He's wounded and restrained. Certain of victory, Danick delivers his sermon directly to Isaac. The marker Isaac destroyed on Titan wasn't the last. The Unitologists have replicated them, dozens, perhaps hundreds, across every major human colony. They are everywhere, and soon they will all awaken. A deafening explosion shakes the city. In the distance, a skyscraper collapses, revealing a red marker hidden within its core. Danik declares that convergence has already begun. But Isaac refuses to die. As the cultists prepare to execute him, he hurls himself into a pit filled with the corpses of Danik's victims. He hits the bottom hard and finds that the bodies aren't all dead. The Necromorphs have reached the moon. Moments later, the remnants of Norton's team arrive aboard the ship Eudora. Under heavy fire from Unitologist gunships, they manage to extract Isaac and pull him aboard. Aboard the Eudora, Isaac learns the truth. Ellie and her crew made a blind jump through deep space to an unmapped planet, convinced that somewhere out there lies the key to ending the marker threat and stopping convergence once and for all. The Eudora triangulates the signal from Ellie Langford's ship and performs a shockpoint jump toward the icy world of Tau Volantis. When they emerge from hyperspace, the crew is met with a grim sight: a shattered moon orbiting the planet and a vast graveyard of derelict ships belonging to the long-lost Sovereign Colony's fleet. Scans pick up a distress signal coming from the CMS Roanoke, drifting roughly 500 kilometers away. The ship is surrounded by what look like navigation beacons, until the crew realizes their proximity mines, drawn to the Eudora's heat signature. The mines detonate, shredding the hull and knocking out one system after another. Chaos erupts as alarms blare and fire consumes the corridors. Isaac and the team abandon ship, fighting their way through the debris field and floating corpses until they reach the Roanoke. The distress signal, they confirm, is indeed coming from its command bridge. In the dark corridors of the Roanoke, Isaac discovers necromorphs lying dormant for over 2 centuries. It confirms their worst fear: the markers once infected Tau Volantis and the Sovereign Colony's fleet that came here. Isaac and the surviving crew eventually locate Ellie and her new team. There, he also learns an unpleasant truth: Ellie and Norton are now together. Ellie explains that the key to understanding this place may lie in the quarters of the ship's late Admiral Graves, whose cabin walls are covered in strange marker glyphs. Isaac, the only one capable of interpreting them due to his direct connection to the markers, begins to decipher the text. He learns that the Admiral was obsessed with building a key to control a mysterious alien machine, something she believed governed all the markers. Her writings describe an urgent mission to shut the machine down before it could trigger another outbreak. Ellie is ecstatic. If the Admiral was right, Tau Volantis could be the marker homeworld, the origin of it all. But the logs also reveal something unsettling: that the Admiral's visions came from an unknown voice whispering the idea into her mind. The crew discovers records of a still-functional shuttle, the Crozier, which could take them down to the planet's surface. But Norton has other ideas. He doesn't want to play hero. He wants to take the shuttle and run. The Crozier is docked aboard the nearby Terra Nova, and Isaac sets out to secure it. On board the Terra Nova, he finds a classified report detailing how Tau Volantis was first discovered. After the first black marker was found on Earth, scientists learned it emitted an endless energy field. Hoping to harness that power, they attempted to replicate it, creating the red markers. Later studies revealed that these copies were relaying a signal from deep space. After triangulation, they pinpointed its origin: an uncharted planet later designated Tau Volantis. Believing the world to be the source of the marker signal, the sovereign colonies dispatched their fleet to study it, hoping to control the energy that could save humanity from a dying, resource-starved civilization. The crew boards the Crozier and begins descent toward Tau Volantis. But the atmosphere is a minefield of debris. Explosions tear through the hull, killing several members of the team. Near the surface, the shuttle breaks apart, scattering wreckage across the frozen wasteland. Isaac barely survives the crash. His RIG malfunctions, leaving him defenseless against the deadly cold. He stumbles through the blizzard, staying alive only by huddling near burning wreckage. Among the debris, he finds a small shelter and a recorded message from Ellie. She and the other survivors have moved on to find cover and left a trail of flares for him to follow. Isaac trudges through the storm, tracking the crimson lights through the endless snowdrifts. As expected, he isn't alone. The necromorphs buried beneath the ice, long-dead soldiers from the old colony, begin to awaken. Old recordings from 200 years ago reveal that the colony was overrun. In the chaos that followed, famine struck, and some survivors began eating infected flesh. Those who did became something new, feral creatures that shunned light and hunted in the dark. Eventually, Isaac finds a replacement RIG, restoring his suit's heat and life support systems. Now able to move freely on the surface, he's ambushed by a new kind of necromorph, faster, stronger, and disturbingly human. He later learns these were once indigenous inhabitants of Tau Volantis. Finally, Isaac reunites with the team. Ellie is overjoyed to see him alive, though Norton clearly isn't. The plan is simple: find the alien machine described in the Admiral's logs and shut it down, hoping it will disable the markers across the galaxy. But before the search can begin, a Unitologist dropship screams through the atmosphere and opens fire. Somehow, Danek's followers have tracked them across space to Tau Volantis, which should have been impossible. Hyperspace travel can't be traced. Something, or someone, has led them straight to the source. The journals of soldiers and scientists who lived and worked on Tau Volantis 2 centuries ago, studying traces of an ancient civilization and the markers, tell of hearing the same command that haunted Admiral Graves: turn it off. But Isaac is certain it means nothing. He refuses to believe in divine messages or alien redemption. He's determined to find the machine and shut it down, if he can find it. The team discovers a nexus, one of many colossal ancient organisms that, according to the old research logs, acted as transmitters for the machine's control signal. By following the patterns these creatures broadcast, the scientists once triangulated the machine's location. To replicate their results, Isaac must literally climb inside the carcass, interacting with its nerve clusters to trace the direction of the signals. Along the way, Isaac uncovers the grim truth of what happened 2 centuries ago. The military of the sovereign colonies, realizing the infection could not be stopped, made an extraordinary decision. They isolated Tau Volantis completely, cutting off all communications, shutting down every ship's engines, and finally self-destructing to prevent the necromorph plague from spreading beyond the planet. Not everyone agreed to die for the sake of containment, but, as the final report coldly notes, the necessary measures were taken. Inside the Nexus, Isaac successfully extracts the data needed to locate the machine's signal, but the creature's primitive immune system reacts violently. When he starts stimulating the nerve clusters, it lashes out in defense. Isaac manages to survive by delivering precise headshots and liberal doses of panic fire. The telemetry points to the planet's deep core. But before Isaac can act, Norton shows his true colors. He locks Isaac inside a cage near the Nexus and jams his rig signal, leaving him to die. The betrayal doesn't last long, though. Clarke breaks free soon after. When Isaac reaches the surface, he and the others are immediately surrounded by Unitologist soldiers, led by Jacob Danek himself. It turns out they tracked the Eudora thanks to Norton's betrayal. He sold out the entire crew, hoping Danek would kill Isaac and spare the rest. But the execution doesn't go as planned. Isaac and John Carver break loose, and chaos erupts. The short firefight is suddenly interrupted by something far worse, a gigantic necromorph, awakened from its icy slumber. It tears through the battlefield, devouring soldiers and equipment alike, before swallowing Isaac whole. Inside the monster's stomach, Clarke curses furiously, realizing he'll probably have to reload from checkpoint. But somehow he's still alive. With pure rage and a plasma cutter, he literally fights his way out of the creature's gut, forcing it to vomit him out before collapsing dead. Before Isaac can catch his breath, Norton attacks him, ranting, blaming him for everything, from Ellie's feelings to the destruction around them. Isaac's patience finally snaps. He kills the traitor without hesitation. Isaac contacts Ellie and tells her he killed Norton, but she doesn't sound angry, just hollow, broken. The silence between them says everything. To shut down the machine, Isaac must create a key, a codex, from the neural structure of an alien life form the scientist called Rosetta. When he places Rosetta's dismembered pieces into a reconstruction device, visions flood his mind. He sees the ancient past of Tau Volantis, a once living world that fell to the markers. As the infection spread, billions of beings were drawn toward a single marker, merging into a colossal spherical organism. Before the transformation could finish, the survivors activated the machine, freezing both the planet and the forming creature in a single instant. That half-formed sphere became the frozen moon now orbiting Tau Volantis. If the machine is ever deactivated, the convergence will resume, not only here, but everywhere the markers exist. The information from Rosetta's body condenses into a single crystalline vessel, the Codex, the key to controlling or disabling the machine. Just as Isaac completes it, Danik arrives. He seizes the Codex and declares his intent to reactivate the machine instead. The people of Tau Volantis chose death over evolution. I will not allow humanity to make the same mistake. Danik orders his men to execute the survivors, but Isaac and Carver fight back, gunning down the Unitologists. Danik escapes with the Codex, disappearing into the storm. Now, to stop him, and prevent convergence from consuming every world, Isaac Clarke must descend into the heart of Tau Volantis. The laboratory begins to fill with scorching gas. Isaac and John Carver barely manage to escape, but Ellie becomes trapped inside, and they're forced to leave her behind. The loss devastates Isaac, but Carver's grim determination and words of resolve keep him moving forward. There's no time for grief, not yet. With the Codex in his hands, Jacob Danik flees deeper into the planet, toward the heart of Tau Volantis, where the machine lies buried. Isaac follows, discovering a series of recordings left by Dr. Earl Serrano. From these logs, he learns a terrifying truth. The frozen moon orbiting the planet is the final form of the Necromorph infection. These brethren moons are not unique. There are countless others across the galaxy, all connected through a vast hive network, sharing thoughts and hunger. When the convergence began on Tau Volantis, the inhabitants never finished configuring the machine. All they managed to do was freeze both the planet and the forming moon. But Serrano discovered the machine's true potential. It could destroy a brethren moon, not just imprison it. All it needed was the correct configuration, which could be set using the Codex. Isaac and Carver descend through an enormous excavation shaft and find themselves standing before the ruins of a vast underground city, the remnants of the alien civilization that once called Tau Volantis home. At its center stands the machine itself, glowing with unimaginable power, and then it hits them. The city is the machine. By a stroke of luck and sheer stubbornness, Isaac and Carver reclaim the Codex. Moments later, Ellie's voice cuts through the static. She's alive. She escaped the gas trap, but Danik's forces captured her. He's waiting for Isaac at the heart of the machine. When they finally confront him, Danik proposes a deal. He'll release Ellie if Isaac hands over the Codex. With no choice, Isaac and Carver comply. Danik takes the device and immediately shuts the machine down. The result is instant and catastrophic. The ice begins to crack. The brethren moon above Tau Volantis awakens, its massive, half-formed body writhing back to life. The planet trembles violently, entire structures collapsing as the moon's gravity tears the surface apart. A falling chunk of debris crushes Danik, ending his fanatical crusade in an instant. Isaac and Carver realize there's only one thing left to do: stand and fight. They tell Ellie to escape while she still can, to take one of the surviving ships and head for Earth. The two men march toward the reawakening moon. Necromorphs pour from every fissure, summoned by the lunar mind. Isaac and Carver battle through waves of horrors, eventually confronting the moon itself in a desperate final stand. During the fight, the moon's tendrils drag Carver into its mass, but Isaac refuses to let him die. He dives after him, fighting through the grotesque flesh until he tears Carver free. Together they reach the machine's core, where Isaac uses the Codex one last time, reconfiguring the system to annihilate the brethren moon and the marker at its heart. The moon implodes in a cascade of crimson light, dragging the ruins of the planet down with it. Ellie, aboard a surviving ship, tries desperately to contact them, but hears only silence. Then she realizes something. The marker signal has stopped. Isaac and Carver succeeded. Humanity is safe. With tears in her eyes, she sets a course for Earth and initiates the jump to hyperspace. But Isaac and Carver are not dead. Against all odds, they survive the fall onto the planet's shattered surface. Disoriented, bruised, and barely believing they're alive, the two question their own reality. Isaac admits he stopped searching for meaning long ago, back on the Ishimura. They decide to find a way off Tau Volantis and return home. Emerging onto the surface, they witness proof of their victory, the massive, lifeless corpse of the brethren moon lying motionless across the frozen plains. The nightmare seems over. Isaac notes that Danik's followers arrived on multiple ships, Surely one of them must have survived the cataclysm. They split up, no longer fearing the monsters that once haunted them, and begin searching for a working vessel. But peace doesn't last. Their minds are suddenly assaulted by visions, the images of other brethren moons stirring across the void. Then the Necromorphs return. The death of one moon wasn't enough. In a shared hallucination, the collective consciousness of the moons speaks to Isaac. Their voices echo as one. We are awake, we are hungry, bring us the earth, make us whole. Before its destruction, the moon of Tau Volantis had awakened its kin and told them about Earth, but they still don't know its location. Isaac and Carver find a surviving ship, though its hyperdrive is destroyed. The sublight engines still work, meaning they can fly within the system, but can't make the jump home. They'll have to find replacement parts in orbit. Isaac ventures alone to the derelict Terra Nova, familiar from before, and finds it crawling with new horrors. Sect members, unlike any he's seen. Their arms are replaced with crude mechanical prosthetics, their heads wrapped in blood-stained sacks. He can't tell if they're real or hallucinations. It turns out a new splinter sect of Unitologists has formed, fanatics who mutilate themselves as offerings to their gods. Their twisted logic is simple. Give your ear to hear their message. Give your tongue to speak their truth. Give your head to understand their divine wisdom. The moons continue to assault Isaac's mind, begging him to lead them to Earth. He realizes that returning home would doom humanity. The moons would follow and consume all life. But Carver refuses to give up. He insists on going back. A fight breaks out between them, violent and desperate, until Isaac realizes it's another illusion, another trick from the moons to slow them down. The truth hits them like a cold shock. The moons already know where Earth is. They've been stalling the two men just long enough to ensure they can't warn anyone. Isaac and Carver join forces again, racing against time to reach Earth before it's too late. Isaac reactivates Terra Nova's engines and initiates the hyperspace jump. When they emerge, Earth fills the viewport, blue, calm, and silent. Isaac tries every communication channel. No response. Static. Then, faintly, he hears screams. A familiar red glow rises from behind the planet. One, then many. The Brethren moons have arrived. Isaac and Carver stare in horror as Earth's orbit fills with writhing titans of flesh and bone. They are too late, and so ends the story of Isaac Clarke, John Carver, and the cradle of humankind. The moons are awake, and Earth is no more. Thank you for watching till the end. Just a quick reminder, my channel is barely over a month old, and every like and subscription means the world and helps it grow. I'll be waiting for you in Save Room Archives. See you there, and may all the creepy stuff pass you by.